Welcome home, family and fellow citizens of the African Order. I'm here with another video, and the topic of this discussion is question everything. I had a few of my friends call me and ask, what is the purpose of your videos? The reason why I am here is to inspire and guide my people to return to our natural order. When we lived under our African proverbs and our children looked up to us and our image. But before we can do that, what must we do first? Unfortunately, we still have to convince our people that we have not advanced from 1865 to now. And what do I mean by that? When our people was first released from slavery, they were put out into the world and had to rely solely on the same people who imprisoned them for 300 years. And when you look at our people today, we have our whole livelihood dependent upon the same race of people who enslaved our people almost 400 years ago. So in order to convince us, I feel the best way to do that is through contrast and comparison of where we were then and where we are today. This is going to show what this country does for whites and what it does for blacks. The educational system in this country educate whites who are at or near the top, while blacks are at the bottom. Whites own and control most of the business and industries and employ, compensate their own, while these same institutions employ and pay us substantially less. Despite the light of the world shining upon the racial and judicial inequity, impacting the lives of every black person, you have rich and poor, fearful not to go outside to face the coronavirus. They're almost just afraid of encountering the police. But since this light has been shown, there has not been no cessation in the violence or the injustice. And one could even say that it's been intensified. Donald Trump brags about bringing peace between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Not able to speak the language of either, but he does not even recognize the racial climate within his own country. Donald has spoke out vehemently about defunding talks against rogue police officers, then turn around and threatens to defund California if the Lincoln Project educates children about slavery. He also assigned federal laws protecting monuments to defend their history, but will cripple California's educational system if they teach ours. Whites have businesses and industries, both private and public, that they can use to provide them a way of life. Blacks have none because they have been destroyed by whites. These same white businesses and industries have the right, while using public resources, police, fire department, lights, garbage removal, and have the right to refuse the public, mostly blacks, who pay for these services. And this goes on even through a pandemic. While we see white parents guilty of bribing colleges and universities, teachers to admit their children and falsify their children's academic records, get sentenced to mere months in prison. while a black single mother who registered her daughter in a school outside of her district, but within the district of the father whom she just separated from, gets sentenced to 20 years in prison. Now, if you think the same people who put us in this situation is capable or deserving to get us out, this channel and this video is not for you. We must eliminate all hope that anything good for blacks can come from whites. The reason for that is anything whites do for our people, it will kill all our efforts to provide for ourselves. And you hear this all the time. Whenever I talk to people about us creating or building our own institutions where we can have self-determination and self-reliance and return all the love that we've given to everybody else to provide for us, we build supplemental institutions that we can own and control, and then we can give that love, that same love, to our people. But you let one white person do one thing for anybody in that group, and the first thing they'll say, well, not all whites are bad. I remember one time back, or when I was a kid and I went to school, I had a white teacher. Or when I went to camp, I had a white guy take me under his wing. We have to stop this. If we are to ever become a self-reliant people, we have to take the brave and necessary steps to secure our own way of life. If you want to be friends with whites, I have no problem with that. But don't let you putting food on your table depend on your relationship with this white person. You feeding your family should have nothing to do with anybody white. So today we must question everything. Should every black child and adult in this country must depend on establishments that was rooted in slavery? How do we change the path of our people? Is it time for us to create our own independent economic system so our people can live and know what black privilege feels like? We must recognize that to fight a systemic problem, you need a systemic solution. And you cannot fight racism while spending $1.3 trillion within the system that is oppressing us. That is ridiculous. We must come together to change the laws that endanger us today. What sense of it is it that we go to marches or we do the anniversary of marches held 50, 75, 100 years ago, and you find yourself today dealing with the same problems that you had back then, and you think reenacting the same failed march today is going to change anything? And we know that changing laws really don't do anything. When you have the President of the United States, one of his, Barack Obama, when he first came into office, he signed the Lilly Ledbetter Act, and which gave women equal pay. And you see today, women still suffer from inequity in their pay. So we still have to fight to change the laws, because as long as the laws are on the book, that empowers them, that inspires them. And so when you vote and change the laws, and they still want to do what is against the law, now they have broken the law. And that's our opportunity to show that whites are determined to keep things as they are. Every time they change a law, it's to strengthen their grip on us. It is not to make the country better. It is not to spread equity of justice and financial wealth around. It is to strengthen their grip on us. The Constitution says any law broken by blacks will return us to involuntary servitude. No other race that was enslaved had to deal with this dilemma, and this condition must be removed. We have got to take this out because this opened the door for them to do mass incarceration. You had the same people who enslaved us are the same people who now write the laws and are the same people who are in charge of enforcing them. So who do you think they're going to target first? The same people who may have enslaved 300 years. So we got to get this out of the Constitution. No longer can we allow them to make laws, enforce laws, and then build institutions to imprison us. And then we must change the laws to limit the authority or the right that infringe upon us or remove our rights and privileges. So what I mean by that is when a police officer stop you, you can be walking across the street against a light, and he has the right to take you off the street and throw you in jail. You could throw a piece of trash on the ground. He has within his authority to take you off the street, put handcuffs on you, and lock you up. You break any law, and they have the right to put you in jail. We've got to change that. So any authority that they have to infringe upon or remove our rights and privileges, we've got to challenge that. The Declaration of Independence gives us the right to pursue joy and live in a way that makes you, us, happy, not them. As long as you do not do anything illegal or violate the rights of others, so we must hold them to this. We have got to force America to be America. And you see, when we have built Black Wall Street, which was a better way of life than what whites have provided for us, and we allowed them to come in there and just destroy all that we had accomplished. So this is why I say we cannot allow whites to give to us, because it'll stop our desire to want to do for ourselves. And then once you have a white person as your friend, then you want to take him into the most intimate. There's no place that he's not welcome. This is what happened when you allow whites to come into your circle. You take them straight to the heart. You take them to your home, your picnic. You can't do anything without wanting to include whites. And all they do is come in there, study your weaknesses, and come back, and they got a mob waiting for you, and you wondering what happened. So what we are going to do is to establish our core training around our primary needs: education, health, food and nutrition, building businesses, and finance. Every level of our essential needs will be owned and controlled by our people, put us in power and authority giving our children images they can look up to and aspire to become. Can you imagine having our own schools, our own hospitals, our own food and nutritional stores, our own banks, businesses, and institutions, all owned, all controlled by blacks? So when you bring your children to work, no matter where you are, they will look and see blacks working. They will look and see blacks being supervised by blacks, blacks owning the businesses and institutions, blacks providing for each other. Tell me, where outside of this channel do you hear talk like that? White people are not going to provide this for you. But I'm not to say that I'm the only one that thinks like this. There's other people out here, but you call them too extreme. Taking care of yourself is not extreme. This is what you should have been doing in the first place. And for those who, the haters or the trolls, no, I am not alone going to run this organization. I want a collaboration of like-minded people like myself. We're going to have our own governing body looking over our people. So in the long run, if let's say I end up being killed, because this, my mother, rest her soul, when I was telling her about what I want to do, and she looked at me and I could see the fear in her eyes, and she said to me, "They're gonna kill you." And the funny thing was, whenever I talked to her about the black racial climate, she was, always more referring back to some white person that she knew, or some white person that did something to her, and something, just to say that I'm wrong for not wanting to include whites. So on this particular day, I went a little bit in depth and was telling her more about what I wanted to do. And like I said, when she heard it, I could see the fear in her eyes. And they're gonna kill you. The same people who befriended you, who helped you do this and helped you do that. Yeah, they'll help you do a lot of things, but they will never help you have ownership and control over your way of life. You better believe that. They will never tell you, why don't y'all go off and try to do it on your own. I'm not the kind of Negro that, despite all the racial tension that you see out there, cops beating unarmed people, men, women, children, I'm not one of them Negroes that run out and want to grab a white guy by the arm and do a roller rink with him, dancing in sync with him, in unison with him, laughing and giggling with him. I'm not that kind of Negro. Because all that's for is to show black people that all white people aren't bad. And that's not nothing to do with this mission. This is about our people coming together and providing for themselves, creating alternative ways for us to live our lives. Can you imagine what the unemployment would look like if blacks worked for whites, and then blacks had their own and hired their own, and we had two paths to prosperity, as opposed to cramming everybody into one? Whites will never offer you that. So you can shuck and jive with them, you can invite them to all the picnics you want, but they'll never encourage you or never inspire you to do for yourself. You're only going to find that here and maybe a few other places. And it's those people who I'm willing to collaborate with to govern and guide our people. Because imagine, there are 45 million blacks in this country and 550,000 in Detroit alone. If we do what I suggest, this will create tens of thousands of opportunities and tens of thousands of jobs. It will change the condition of hundreds of thousands of our people that we can duplicate in every city in the world that our people reside. Not only do I want us to question everything, I want us to change our mindset and stop lowering our expectations from what we are committed to. No longer are we going to leave our way of life up to those who stole ours. And we are not going to use water fountain use or access to toilets as goals for our people. We are not going to protest our treatment only to bring them back to the same person or business we were going to to the same person or business that mistreated them in the first place. We're going to build our own. I mean, it's as simple as that. The purpose of my mission and the purpose for our people is to bring us out of this adolescent state of seeking permission and usher us into an adult world of self-determination. Everything we have to do in our minds, we have to think is why are you going to let us do it? Is this allowed? Then you can't do that. Why can't you do it? Because why are you not going to let you? That's what's in your head. We see now that you cannot legislate behavior. Either you're going to treat people like humans or you're not. And you see, they are not. All you have to do, you look at every organization and their goal is to seek equality with whites. The same rights and privileges they have, we want to have. And the civil rights movement happened over 50 years ago, 55 years ago. And they can't even do that. Why? Because we have created no alternative to their treatment. As long as we keep allowing them to tear our stuff down and we don't rebuild it and keep going to their establishments, what's their motivation for changing their behavior? I mean, what is their motivation? If you don't create an alternative, what's going to make them change? So in conclusion, let me say this. We see the blatant disrespect of our people. Just anyone can stop and question our authority. The President of the United States can hear the direst news about COVID-19 and purposely downplay its effects. He even said during an interview, after hearing the reports of over 100,000 people dead, millions infected, he just casually on TV says, and I still enjoy downplaying it. What pleasure can a human being get out of downplaying of COVID-19 pandemic that has killed over 100, well, to date, over 200,000 people and infected millions more? What pleasure, what kind of human gets pleasure out of downplaying the effects? A lichen will get pleasure out of that. He looks like a human, he talks like a human, but inside he is not human. It is something that's missing inside of white people that leaves them a little bit short of humanity. Like I said, I still enjoy downplaying it. And then on top of that, when they asked him, what about the results of the impending deaths? His reply was, it is what it is. As if there is nothing no one can do. And if we don't create an independent primary services for our people, he'll be right. He can treat you any way he wants to until you create an alternative that you don't have to rely on them. And we see these people, as I said earlier, they write laws to strengthen their grip on them, but they also use laws to increase their diversion. They write laws that support their deviance, changing men into women, women into men, and giving children the right to choose their gender. I am trying to turn boys into men, girls into women, men into kings, and women into queens. If we do not do this, what will be the alternative? If we just continue to sit back, seek permission from these lichens, while they make laws and enforce laws to increase their grip on us and to make legal their sexual deviance, what is the world going to look like? And how can we even be kings and queens of our own homes and communities if we don't empower ourselves or possess the authority to maintain them? Remember this. If we go forward and do not embrace our history and pass down our stories, the future we will find ourselves in will be theirs. I hope you enjoy this message, and I hope I made my purpose for these videos clear. And if you like this message, share it. And with this video and all my videos, it is for the complete liberation of our people. And I will see you in my next video. Ashe.